um, see my screen. Oh, of course, I'm getting a call coming in, and it's based. It's just a system of living, and basically, it stands for social work, inner financial, and taking care of, and it's called SWIFT. And you set your goals each month based on each category, and when you live a day where you're living on all five, boy, are you ever in the zone. I guarantee it. Guaranteed. So welcome to the call. It's sponsored by Karima Buddha from Investors Group, and he's one of our sponsors, so this call wouldn't be possible without him. And Shoshana Porter, your friend Jennifer from Royal LePage Real Estate. And our guest this week is Jennifer Hough. So welcome, welcome. I've got your picture in red, Jennifer.
Oh, shucks.
You look good. And Jennifer is a seer, awakening alchemist, a best-selling author. Her work is to assist each one of us to awaken our innate abilities beyond the five senses, to experience life in complete flow, as it was meant to be. Imagine being fully integrated with the piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth. They were born to be in this lifetime. Jennifer is a supreme lover of life whose magnetic style and authenticity have literally blown audiences away from around the world 3 times now. And Jennifer is always speaking about this global awakening. She's got the capacity to activate the subatomic remembrance of who you are, making that little voice inside your head highly uninteresting to listen to, that inner critic. Okay, I've had enough of you. You can leave. Her mission is to cause heaven within so we can all bring heaven with us wherever we go. And tonight's topic is the evolution of our human innate abilities. Who needs intention when it can all come to you? So I hope you can hear Jennifer okay. And let's get going. Jennifer, I got a number of questions for you. Welcome, welcome. Do you want to say hi to everybody again?
Hi to everybody again, and woohoo on the it's so funny. I'm like so untechnological, so I'm happy actually just to be able to phone you, Dave.
It's amazing. The phone. Who'd have thought?
Exactly. I have technological people, none of whom are here at this time of night.
Aw, too bad.
So, anyways, it's great to be with you, Dave, and great to be with everybody. And I'm so glad everyone had a little bit of patience.
Yeah, I am too. So, Jennifer, let's get started on our conversation tonight. And the premise is, what if we could connect directly to our infinite wisdom and have the confidence of our own innate knowing, the fluidity with all of life that occurs when we tap into that universal yes and have the courage to let life live through us, where it's magical. So where do we begin to access that part of ourselves, Jennifer? Especially when a lot of those, I've been talking to are going through challenges and fears and struggles and just the muckiness of life these days.
Well, can I be super straight up?
Yeah.
It is, Dave, I think the place I want to start is that even to hear what we're going to talk about tonight, it requires everybody kind of let go of what they think they already know, because I definitely don't dance in the land of, I just came back from a conference in L.A., and, this is a paradigm that's beyond the norm. It's not going to fit into the you should meditate, you need to slow down, you need to find balance kind of paradigm. It's what we're going to talk about, just so everyone can hear what I'm saying. Who I talk to, and the people that generally resonate with the work that we do here, are people who feel like they're in the not belonging club. They're kind of people who are leaders. They kind of question everything. They have this very unique calling to want the most leading edge ways of sort of going beyond the density of life. They really aren't interested in the same old, same old. They usually are, almost everyone we worked with, it's the weirdest thing, Dave, almost everyone we've worked with has had the idea in their life that there should be a good news newspaper, or that there should be a good news radio show, or there should be a, why aren't we reporting on the good news? It's one of the commonalities we've found. It's like they just don't accept status quo. So our work is kind of way beyond even what one would term the even the kind of new agey status quo. We're operating here just to set everyone up to be able to listen to something that you've probably never heard before. And if you hear it like you've heard it before, it's probably you're trying to reference something you already know. So that's why we want you to let go of stuff that you already know so you can hear with way bigger ears. Is that making sense, Dave?
Yeah, but so those you're working with,
yeah.
Where are they? Like, what are they questioning? Where are they living in? What's going on for them in their lives?
Well,
that might be different than, the rest of us.
No, I don't think it is. So for instance, we just had we have a 6-month-long program, right? It's called Flight School. And people join us, and they generally pay what some people might term quite a bit of money. It's about $20,000. And those people, just to give you an idea, yes, there was one healer there, but there was also a high school teacher of kids that were kicked out of the rest of the system. A leader of that industry, in fact. There was a general manager of a construction company. There was an esthetician. There was a let's see, I'm trying to think of other people. There was a retired woman who is just really wanting to find who she is and why she's on the planet. There was a speaker author. So it really ran the gamut. I think and it was people from all over the world. We had someone from Germany, someone from England, someone from Czechoslovakia, people from Canada, people from the United States. So it wasn't geographical, and it certainly isn't specific to a job.
So what are they questioning?
What they're questioning, Dave, is probably somewhat what I was questioning when I got into this work. And sure as shooting, I can tell you that when I got into this work, remember that I worked at Procter & Gamble as a purchasing manager and having a degree in economics and accounting, right? So you got to know what we're going to talk about tonight is definitely not it was not what I would have ever expected out of my life, and I am probably the world's greatest skeptic of me. So just to give that a little bit of formatting. But to answer your question, Dave, what are they questioning? What they're questioning is, I see other people being in complete flow, and I seem to be working really hard to manage my circumstances to be at least barely acceptable, or to at least survive this life. It's sort of like they're watching other people thrive, and they're surviving okay, but there's a lot of ups and downs, but they want to know what the paradigm shift is that has someone be in total, where everything is coming to them. They're asking the question, how does everything come to me? How can I stop chasing after it and working so hard to try to get the proverbial there, wherever the heck there is?
Okay, and so that's the $1 million question, and I'm going to ask you that. How do we get there? How do we get to wherever there is? How do we get into that state of flow and, or that zone, as it were?
Well, from our perspective, Dave, from having been around the world a few times, working with lots and lots and lots of people, I know when I say lots, I mean tens of thousands, there's two things. One is we have to understand that awakening to all of who you are is not a nebulous concept for me. So the first thing is awakening to all of who you are. And you might think, oh, well, that means meditating and taking courses to excavate what's stopping me, and it means being more aware. And in fact, for us, it's much, 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 much simpler and much, much, much deeper than that. So in awakening to all of who you are, what it actually, people have to understand first what that means. So that's one of those places where you have to let go of what you think you already know, like you have a reference point for that. For us, what it means is that, okay, so Dave, this time, is it okay if I ask you some questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, here we go.
Or well, we'll get to our attendees too.
Yeah, and everybody. Okay. So we all have three-dimensional abilities, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what would you say are three-dimensional, I don't know, senses and abilities? What do we have?
Well, sight, taste.
Sure.
Feeling, emotion.
And those three-dimensional abilities actually help us in 3D, right? Like if a truck is coming, you get out of the way, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And that's good. We like that. Okay. Would you say we also have some abilities that kind of transcend the 3D genetic model? So 3D genetics, like two-stranded DNA, would give us the sight, taste, touch, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what would you and the listeners say are some very real, I don't want to talk about this as if we're talking about someone else. I want to talk about this as if we're talking about you, like you guys. So what are those multi-dimensional abilities? Because this is going to be crucial to the rest of the conversation.
What are those multi-dimensional abilities?
Yeah. What abilities that can't be explained by two-stranded DNA?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I'm thinking intuition, like when you know something, but you can't explain how you know it.
So Shoshana is saying intuition is one. Right?
Right. Cool. Shoshana's saying intuition. Hi, Shoshana.
Hello, I love you.
Aw.
You too.
Old friends. And also I had a client who just emailed me and they said they had a dream over the weekend.
Yes.
So in our dream state.
Dreams, so great. So it's being able to be communed with by our guidance through dreams. It's certainly having instincts and intuitions, right?
Right.
And also subconscious.
What else do you guys? What else do you think helps?
Our subconscious.
Oh, subconscious.
Like one day, somebody asked me where something was, and they were in the car with me, and I accidentally got off on the wrong exit. And
okay.
I said, I don't understand why we did this. And then all of a sudden, the place that they had asked me about was right there. And I said, well, I guess this explains why I got off the highway where I did.
So it's what I'm going to call that is I'm going to call it your right brain's capacity to connect with infinite wisdom. Actually, it's not even your right brain. It's actually a telomeric connection. It's you have 75 trillion little satellite dishes that actually connect with photon, and this is where it gets complicated, right? Photon, well, it doesn't. It's actually very simple. Packages of light. These photon packages of light contain the information that transcends 3D rationality. It's just how intuition works. It's just what infinite wisdom is. So it's sort of like infinite wisdom communing with you. So I'm going to ask another. You guys have got the idea. So we have other innate abilities. Now, what about the innate ability? I'm going to give you one that you guys haven't mentioned yet. And Dave, by the way, I'm in, so I can phone back and use an audio pin.
Okay, beautiful.
I'll phone right back in.
Okay. Okay, we're just going to lose Jennifer here for a sec, and she's going to phone back and use an audio pin. Yay. All the joys of webinars. And Jeannie's here. And we're just waiting for Jennifer to call back in. We're doing it by phone. She was on my speaker. Who's typing there?
Not me.
Okay. Just waiting for Jennifer to come back in. Maybe this works. Jen, are you there? She was all set, and then now we don't have her.
We've been teased.
I know, big time.
I wonder if she can get back in the way she was, because it sounded
Yeah,
pretty
she
good to me.
could. Hopefully she'll call back.
Where in the world is Jennifer right now?
I think she's here or in the States, Tony.
Like, she's definitely on Earth.
Yeah, she's definitely on Earth, but she was just in LA. I think she's back here, or else I'm not sure if she's living here now or in the States, like New York or something, like Buffalo, something like that. Here she is.
That'll be for you.
That is. Hey, Saved by the Bell. Yeah.
Don't want me to talk to you that way.
Yep.
It's all good.
Okay.
So you guys, so we have all these abilities, okay? And these abilities we call innate abilities. But one of the ones that I was just going to mention, okay, everybody here, I think must be most of the people that listen to you, Dave, are like small business owners, yeah?
Yeah.
Most? Okay.
I am.
Yeah, most are, yes.
Just think of it this way, you guys. How many of you have seen information from 30,000, you've seen a situation from 30,000 feet, even if you're one-on-one with a client or if you're in a business meeting or something like that, you've seen what's going on from 30,000 feet, and you just say something that comes out of your mouth, and you have no idea where the thing that you say comes from. It's like you say something, it changes the whole energy of the situation, and you're like, wow, that was brilliant. I wonder who said that. So we've all done that, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dave, I've seen you do it on radio shows. Just the stuff comes out of your mouth, and I'm like, wow, who was that? And one of the things is that we have this capacity to come from 30,000 feet and see what's going on from a much broader scale. And that capacity, just imagine, I'm going to ask, so again, you guys, what I'm going to ask you to do as we're having this conversation is really have an experience that goes on. It's going to be an experience that if you let yourself, it's going to be outside of sort of the linear way that we think, okay? Because the linear way that we think, what our bodies and what our lives are comfortable with is sort of building upon what we already know because it feels comfortable. But I'm telling you, true comfort comes from the freedom to be able to go direct with all of consciousness. It actually, if we were able, so just imagine with me, okay? So everybody breathe. You can cross your legs. At the level we're talking, it doesn't matter if you cross your legs, uncross them, cross your eyes. I don't matter, okay? Just right now, imagine what your business or what your conversations would look like, even with people that are a little bit difficult, okay? Imagine. Even imagine, okay, you're trying to get on the line with someone you love, who
Like tonight?
you're doing a show with,
Yeah.
who you adore, who you would never want to let down, right?
Right.
And you're totally prepared, you're totally ready, and then technology, for some reason, is doing its thing. But you actually get to see it from 30,000 feet. And just imagine how you would be. Now, for me, it doesn't even remotely upset me. All it does is put me more profoundly into a state of neutrality so that I can just do what's going to work. It just doesn't get me. What if nothing got you? See, because the work I'm talking about here is not about nothing going wrong, whatever the hell that means. It's about anything can happen, and you stay completely in your body and maintain the connection to your wisdom, no matter what. It also says, just imagine in your business, everyone just stay with me, just breathe, stay with me, stay in your cells, stay in your body, have the experience. Imagine what it would look like that you could not even at will tap into that level of wisdom, but it actually became your default way of being. You actually, for lack of a better way of saying it, became your own guru. But that's sort of a marketing colloquial phrase that I hesitate to use because for me, it's much more important than that. It's not some marketing kitsch word. It's actually more like if two-stranded DNA gives you the ability to see and smell and taste and touch and use your logical brain, and all of those things are in 3D, then if you have abilities and senses beyond 3D, they must lie in other, we call them strands of DNA or genetic encodements that aren't in 3D. If 3D DNA gives you certain encodements, then what we may call your superpowers, those superpowers are actually not superpowers, they're actually normal. But the problem is, it's so much easier and more tangible to use our regular abilities, our 3D abilities. And on top of that, when we've been in survival mode for the last several thousand years, those are the abilities that keep you alive. Those are the survival mode abilities. But when you start realizing, Dave and everybody, that you have the capacity to create upon creation, you have the capacity to be to exercise genius, not just when you're on a stage, like some of you get on stages. Shoshana, when you're with a client, sometimes, if you're in real estate, you're with a client, and you just know stuff when you're talking to someone, or all the rest of you, whatever you do, you know when you're in those moments where you're completely tapped in. And we've been conditioned to think that, well, you go in and out of that. And some people have special gifts and they could just be there all the time, but, it's just not me. And, I have bills to pay and things to do, and in that world, I'm just I don't want to know about the other abilities. But what other abilities are actually what get you out of survival mode, because you start to be able to see you start to be able to dance with, forget about seeing it. See, that's the thing about me. I don't really care about that you can see your guides or hear your guides or angels or anything like that. That does not inspire me in the least. The fact that you can go direct with them, and it's sort of like living your life as a walking meditation, except it's not a walking meditation in terms of you're so present and you're just walking in a meditation. It's actually having abilities that transcend the three-dimensional survival mode abilities such that you actually can do what you as a human being came here for in the first place, which is dance with all of creation, which instantaneously takes you out of struggle and takes you out of hurt and pain.
Yeah, but we're addicted to that struggle, Jen? Like we I think we are. I think we're addicted to that, and I think we kind of wonder, like, well, if I'm not struggling, then am I working hard enough? Is there something wrong with me? Like,
weird, right?
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I had an experience this week on a personal note with a relationship that ended, and yeah, I was a little bit bummed on the weekend, but I'm actually kind of at peace with it today.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I got it. Time to move forward. I got it, universe. Thanks for this gift. Thanks for the gift of
know what addiction looks like and what we're talking about here, so that we can. That's a perfect example, Dave. Actually, so thanks for using that. And second of all, I'm giving you a big smushy hug.
Aw.
That sucks.
Yeah, I know. But
oh yeah,
it's for the best, right?
yeah.
So,
It's all everything. You know, if you remember anything from tonight, just remember everything happens for you. It never happens to you, ever. Everything happens for you.
And that's for everybody on the call. So everything happens for you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay. So with respect to what we're talking about here, now, if everyone, let's actually use Dave's example, not to flog your pain, Dave.
Oh, thanks.
We're gonna use your example as an inspiration to get out the other side. Okay?
All right.
Okay. So let's look at that addiction. I want everyone to let's not just talk about this like in some nebulous way, like it's a concept. Let's actually make it real for everybody. So everybody, look at a behavior that you appear to be addicted to. Okay, that when X happens, you always respond with Y, even though you know that Z, A, B, and C would be way better than responding with Y. So everyone's live, right, Dave? People can talk out loud?
Yeah.
Yep.
Some can, some can't. Some are self-muted. Yeah.
Okay, you guys. So what are those? What are those things? What
I can think of one. It's Shoshana. I can think of something right now, and it's relating to my teenage son. And I'm having some major difficulties. And on one hand, my feeling is I should put him out of my home. And on the other hand, as a mother, I'm thinking, what a horrible person I would be to do such a thing. But I'm on the brink.
So part of your addictive behavior is to beat yourself up. We're addicted to beating ourselves up. That's one thing. And so we have these, so we're addicted also to our identities, right? So if I'm a mom, I'm addicted to being there for everyone all the time, 100%, like I should be doing this, I should be doing, we're addicted to our shoulds. So when actually most of that has nothing to do with doing what's in the highest. You see, when you're connected to these innate abilities, when you actually embody, or let's say integrate with these other strands of DNA, which by the way I call higher biology. This higher biology actually in fact, it doesn't even allow you anything. You cannot not do what's in the highest. You know that if you do what's in the highest, it's in the highest for all, and you would never feel guilty. Ever, ever, ever would you feel guilty, because your identities become pretty irrelevant.
This is true.
So what else, you guys? What else? Dave, you have any more? Anyone else have any more?
Yeah, anyone want to jump in now? You can unmute yourself.
You know, it's like those cyclical patterns that you keep coming back to. It's like some people might say I'm addicted to eating chocolate every time I get stressed.
Well, I can think of another example, and I don't feel this now, but I did in the past. I would deal with clients I absolutely hated dealing with just because I felt I needed to do it for my business.
So desperation as an addiction.
Yes.
Right? We become desperate, and that becomes an addictive behavior. We respond from our desperation. That's the addictive pattern. We're constantly responding from desperation for money, or desperation for love, or desperation for someone acknowledging us because we're finally good enough.
So what are you getting to, sort of like, you know, kind of what we had a chat with Jennifer McLean last week was, are you getting to, it's really about self-love?
No, I'm not.
Oh.
Absolutely. As I said, this is nothing about what you've already heard. Completely not. However, the result of what I'm talking about is that your default position would be that you couldn't help but love yourself. That would become your default. You wouldn't have to consciously think, oh, I got to do stuff to learn self-love.
Right.
Okay?
So Jennifer, here's a question. Why is it, David's going to laugh because he's going to know part of this, that he's going to know that I'm referring to something that he's done for me. Why is it when someone reaches out for help to us, to offer us a hand, that we don't accept it?
Perfect. Another addiction. Here's another addiction. What we're addicted to is actually doing it ourselves because somehow we're addicted to getting others' approval and being independent, and we're also addicted to the belief that if we actually can do it ourselves, or we'll be better survivors. Everything won't go to hell in a handbasket because you'll have done it yourself, and then you'll know that you can do it yourself. And gosh darn it, you don't want to be in flow with other people. Okay, so we've got a few of them here, right? We've got a whole pile of them. Okay, so again, I'm going to ask everybody to let go of what you think you already know. Okay, I just want you to let go of what you think you already know. And it rhymes, so it's good. So, imagine there's this three-dimensional being whose little spirit has been running around the earth for several thousand years, constantly worrying about, is there enough money? Am I lovable enough? Am I anything enough? And the only thing that's going to stop someone from killing you or hurting you is to use the three-dimensional abilities to see or hear or run or logic or whatever it is, and you've just had a lot of practice. And you have made up, we all collectively have made up strategies to survive what we might perceive as a dog-eat-dog world. And I got to tell you, I've done a lot of work in the States, okay? And in the work in the States, that dog-eat-dog survival competitive mentality is about 10 times what it is in Canada, which is interesting because that's what the population difference is, 10 times.
Yeah.
And there's this it's like an
It's too cold to be dog-eat-dog up here, don't you?
Well, it is too. It is too. And it's like 10 times there.
Yeah.
It's like, it's painful to me because that just isn't where I live. So listen, I want to take you guys on an experience, if I may, Dave. Is that cool?
Please, yeah.
Okay. The experience is going to represent shift, or it's going to be an example of what's possible for all of us to permanently and forever not have to live. I want you to actually experience what it feels like. Now, we're not going to do it in this call. Definitely not on this call. But what we're going to do is we're going to get a ball rolling. And the ball that's going to get rolling is I'm going to show you something that inside of you somewhere you've always known is possible. You're going to get something activated that you knew was possible. And that thing that is possible, that it's kind of like consciously you didn't know it, but I'm about to activate it, and you're going to go, yeah, I get it. I get that. I get that that's totally possible. And what it is this. Everybody, again, kind of get comfortable and really lean in and listen, not just with your ears, but I want you to listen with your body. That's one of your innate abilities, to listen with your cells, to actually experience what I'm saying, okay? So here it is. What if, just consider this idea, that in survival mode, we're all afraid, and certainly there's some beauty to commiserating about our fear and knowing that we're not alone. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and that's all beautiful.
And what about past programming? And
doesn't matter.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, we've a pretty big quantum leap even since last I saw you, Dave, which was quite a while ago now.
Yeah.
So there's something that's possible for human beings. So again, just breathe. Okay, I want to show you something. We know that you have abilities. You guys are the ones that came up with abilities. And I mentioned a couple that it's like, yeah, I've done that too. I've seen things from 30,000 feet. I don't know how I do it, but I just sometimes have this capacity to go way beyond what's happening in front of me in 3D and see the bigger picture of who's been influencing them, what they're afraid of, and I just know what to say. And then I say it, and it switches the whole system. Or I walk into a room, and I know who can shift my energy, and I just gravitate towards them, and I just do that. Or, as Shoshana was saying, I turn off where, that's not what the direction said, but it was perfect. Now, what if those were abilities that are only happening to us when we just temporarily step out of survival mode, because of their actually default abilities that kick in when we get out of survival. And then, in fact, not only do they put us into a level of flow that takes us out of survival, but in fact, so listen to the paradox. Just listen to the paradox. Everybody breathe, okay, so you can listen, so you can really hear this. What if there are encodements, there are instructions, just like two-stranded DNA, but there are multidimensional instructions, codes, that of course they're multidimensional because those are multidimensional abilities, so of course the instructions come in from other dimensions, that if you were to embody them, that would become your default. That would be where you would live, okay? What if the permanent place you live, now, just, I really want you to, I'm not just saying that, I'm not talking at you, I'm actually wanting to have you experience this as I talk about it. So listen, really consider, look at what it might look like as I say this. What would it look like if you consistently had the capacity and even lived at a place where not only were you in 3D having amazing conversations, but instantaneously, where it was appropriate, you could access that 30,000-foot view to see why someone was behaving that way. So you could respond to the deeper reason, and for that reason, what you would say would shift the energy because you're really speaking to what they're really saying. Because it's an ability to see that way. What if you had the capacity to see every situation from 30,000 feet? What if your instincts, those little photon packages of light from consciousness, because consciousness is aware of all things, and it is always tending towards the greatest flow. And the information for you to always go towards the greatest flow is always being delivered to you because you're swimming in the soup of consciousness. And that if you would let go of your mind's strategies to stay safe for just a second, you would actually be constantly served by that higher information that would put you back in flow at any minute. And in fact, the thing that would benefit you the most, when you're in stressful situations is actually to embody that place. Now, we could say, but Jennifer, are these skills that you have to learn? They're not you don't have to learn them. Okay? Nobody has to do this. It's really for people that want to change their default level of ease, flow, effortless, and the amount of stuff that actually comes to them instead of the amount of struggle that they have, okay?
All right. So how does that look with, someone that's, taking your course or you've coached or worked with, Jen?
Well, so again, going back to that experience, Dave, what it looks like is if you're living here, your physicality is being upgraded to capacitate the abilities. Like it's like a muscle, right? You're actually activating muscles you haven't used for a while. So it's like when last year when I went out to play soccer for the first time in 15 years and I couldn't walk for 5 days. Yeah. It's like the muscles are there. They just haven't been used. So what it looks like at first is you question it. You're like, am I really doing this? First of all, that's the first thing you say. For instance, obviously the program that we teach around this is called Innate Abilities because that's what it is. So when people do this program, the thing that we don't do is we don't teach about it. We actually do the innate abilities, and people are shocked that they can do them. And then their ego gets involved. The part of them that doesn't want to be that expansive gets involved, which I am sure everybody has seen their habitual ego mind jump in when you're flying and go, when's the other shoe going to drop? Or, am I really doing this well? Or, I can't believe this is happening to me. Or, blah, 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 blah. So the first thing that happens is the same thing that happens whenever you're getting expansive because you have, your ego has a comfortability with what you've already known. So when you start knowing in your cells, like understanding cellularly that you have greater capacities, the ego mind goes nuts because it knows that eventually if you keep going, you're going to be free of it. So that's what happens, an ego trigger. That's the first thing. The second thing that happens is once you know this, it's not know intellectually. Once you have had the experience that you have these abilities, once you have had the experience that you have these abilities, and there is no turning back, because even when the ego mind speaks to you, when it says, are you really doing this? Can you really do this? This isn't sustainable, blah, 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 blah. Even when it says that, there is the inner knowing inside of you that goes, I was born to do this. I know I'm supposed to do this. I know that's exactly, even if people who live in total flow, and you guys could probably think of some names already, even if you can think of a few people who live perceptively according to you in this beautiful flow,
Okay.
you kind of got to understand that they may not put the language around it that I'm putting around it, but they're actually doing what we're talking about. They may not know what it is that we're doing, and we all of you, I mean, one of our capacities is also to see holographically. It just happens to be one of the innate abilities that I came into this life with. I can actually see and experience people and all of their dimensions and see all the incongruencies, right? So, and then be able to bring things that are incongruent back into congruence energetically, and things shift. But everyone can do that.
All right. So say it is a relationship with a family member that's giving you grief, like as in Shoshana's case. How then does someone need to think, be, act in order to transform their former default position and bring in this new default position? What does that sort of look like?
What does it look like?
Yeah.
So the first thing is, okay, I'm going to be super duper straight up, Dave, with you. I'm going to say that over the next 30 years, okay, let's even back it up a little bit. If you look at kids these days, they're all coming in with these abilities, and they look at us like we're nuts. And they can also see, feel, and hear beyond their three-dimensional senses, beyond their five senses, or even their six senses. And they're sort of projecting that we all see, feel, and hear that way. But of course, we're not as evolved. They came in with a body that was already upgraded. So that's why they know how to say stuff, or they see stuff, or they also get very irritated when we try to take their freedom away, because their freedom is their access to their flow. And so there's a different way to talk to these kids. There's a different way to do all that with these kids. So when you're looking at changing your default, you got to understand that when you die, you will come back in a body that has these capacities. Also, while you're alive in this round, your body's upgrading anyways. You probably notice that your instincts are getting a little bit better and your intuition's getting a little bit better as you go. The general time it would take to integrate with your innate abilities is between 25 and 35 years, okay? And it is the trajectory of humankind right now. The reason being that if everyone lived in this space, there'd be no more reason for war, because we'd be in flow with all of consciousness. If you actually integrated all of your innate abilities, you'd be able to see everything from 30,000 feet. You would know that there is no lack anywhere. There's no lack of love. There's no lack of enoughness, because you can actually see at that high level all the time, every day, and you lose all your fear. So to change the default position is going to happen anyways, Dave. So that's the first thing I need to say in order to preempt what I'm about to say, because what I'm about to say sounds relatively self-serving. But one of the reasons I'm on the planet, I know that everyone, a belief is just not how I see this. I absolutely know that everyone is a piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth. These are times of great change. People are wanting something new, hence the brilliance of the work that you're putting together here. And we're headed in a direction where we can all sing, dance, and play in fluidity with each other. And there's a lot of density, and there's also a lot of amazing people that are waking up. And I get to work with those. Yay. But in order to, who I work with, and all I can speak to is who I work with, Dave. on a daily basis to have it be 20 years instead of 35 years, I would say practice. Doing it on the fast track, the best way I know how is to come and play with us in innate abilities, quite frankly, because what we do is we take you through the process of actually doing it. You know what I mean? Like you're actually doing it with us. You're actually doing your innate abilities, and then you're communing with a bunch of people that are just sick of struggling, and they're all flying and so excited. So it's like an immersion in a bunch of, it's just you're swimming in a soup of what's possible, and you're doing it. You're not just talking about it. You're actually witnessing yourself integrating with your greater ability.
So again, how does that sort of play out with that, that troublesome, spouse, or the disgruntled teenager? How does that, what does that look like in terms of that change in behavior,
Yeah, and Dave, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Okay, so it's like in the immediate, Dave, that like in the immediate, there's got to be tools to actually fake it till you make it, right?
Jennifer,
like you're in the middle of the argument.
Hang on, Shoshana.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Like you're in the middle of the argument with someone, right?
Right.
And you're like, okay, WTF. That's nice, innate abilities, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, because you just want to go toe-to-toe, right? And then you're used to your old default programming, which is to,
right. Right.
to defend yourself and,
right. And
you're wrong, I'm right, or
even
if you don't do this, I won't do that,
Yeah, but Dave, let's take it a step further, right?
Yeah.
Because even the model that you and I did lots of work in, the model is, okay, I'm conscious that I'm being tricked. Like if we took a strategy that we've learned from courses, which if I say this, everyone here will have their own version of this strategy because you guys are all relatively evolved people because you're working with Dave. I mean, you have some level of consciousness about you. So you watch this argument coming, and all of a sudden someone's spitting venom and being very righteous, and then all of a sudden you have these tools. And maybe first you breathe. You're like breathing, and you're like, okay. Second of all, maybe you say to yourself, okay, I know this is not personal. I've been told over and over and over again, this is not personal. Okay, it's not personal. Okay, and the next thing you might do is you might even say to them, you know what, just give me 5 minutes. I'm going to walk away. I just need to get in my body. You might even use that as a tool, and then you come back. And then you have the conversation. Maybe that gave them time to cool down, and then you have a conversation, and maybe even something opens up because you guys are a little less reactive, and all of a sudden, a better conversation comes, and maybe you come to some conclusions, or you agree to disagree, or whatever. And this is all from using tools that we already know. Not speaking to someone's ego, maybe getting yourself to a higher vibration by walking away, maybe, closing your eyes and, like, connecting, whatever tools you have. Okay. Those are all very real tools, and what they do is they assist you to get to a place where you're back in the proverbial or closer to the truth of who you are. Now, the truth of who you are is actually fully embodied without any identities and absolutely without fear. Okay, that's who you really are. Now, there's lots of people with lots of tools out there. And Dave, I'm going to tell you that, again, it's sort of like what I'm doing here is like, yes, learn the tools, but don't learn them from me. If you want to change your default position and you actually want to, so what I'm talking about here is you actually see all of life from a much greater perspective. You actually start to become consciousness expressed as human being with all of these amazing personalities and skill sets that you have, but you start to be able to see that you do have the capacity. You're free to dance with anything. Nothing gets you from this embodied state because you have senses that allow you to see the bigger picture, that allow you to see the shifts within people, that allow you to live in, and we've all had these sensations, so you know what I'm talking about, you guys, a deep sense of compassion for someone where everyone else is hating them. But what happens is you start to roam around. That's just how you be. And it's not about a beingness. It's not about me telling everybody, okay, be this way, because that would be very dogmatic, and that's not what I'm talking about either. Remember I told you guys to kind of let go of what you think you already know. What I'm actually talking about, and everybody breathe, and Dave, this is what I'm talking about, right, is embodying in your biology, in your current biology, an upgrade to be able to be congruent and integrate with these abilities, not as though they're special gifts for certain people, but as though they actually were innate to you all along. And the reason we don't use them is mostly because we've been told it's too woo-woo, or it's too out there, or you're a witch, or you're a this, or you're that, when in fact it's actually the most natural state for a human being to be able to witness the beauty and the flow of life from that level. So what would happen, Dave, back to your question, is by upgrading the human biology to be able to live permanently at that state, someone would be argumentative, or they would just have come out of a terrible meeting, or, their mother just told them, I told you when you were growing up you're not good enough, and now I'm sure you're totally not good. You're terrible.
Yeah,
You're
those programs, they were with us since day one, pretty well.
Sure. And what happens is when you're fully embodied, Dave, when you're actually walking around from a different view, you actually change your default way that you look at life completely, not because we give you new perspectives, but because you will automatically have new perspectives because of the way you see life differently. You witness life.
Jennifer?
So
what happens is you walk into a meeting or walk to this brother that is so confrontational or whatever, and what happens is all you can hear is what's really going on, and it puts you in an. It doesn't take very long to get into compassion, because you can hear that whenever someone is yelling, they're actually afraid. Now imagine your triggers disappearing. And your triggers don't disappear because we excavate them. Your triggers disappear because you get the greater reason why they happen, for hundreds of them and thousands of them at a time, not one-off, so that you can excavate all the reasons why your life isn't working one at a time. It's actually being able to see life from a completely different view by upgrading your biology and becoming a different viewer of life.
It's almost like you're taking sort of an extremely loving approach, and just you're not even taking a defensive approach anymore, which is really our old our sort of standard way of being, or as you refer to it as our default place or position. But we're actually sort of stepping back, going, you're just allowing. It's almost like you're just allowing them to be them, and yet you have a 30,000 feet view of being sort of shining and sending love down to them, and coming from a place of love and compassion instead. Is that kind of summing it up a little bit?
Yeah, you're getting warmer. Because here's the thing, it becomes your default position. Now here's the beauty of it.
Hang tight, Susanna. We're going to take questions in a moment, okay?
Okay.
Here is the beauty of it. Now you're a leader. Because the minute you stop being afraid and being triggered by every little thing, and you realize that you have the power to change the energy of any situation, you don't even have to send love. You'll just emanate it. Like anyone that comes, everything becomes, it stops being effortful, Dave. It's like you don't have to send love. You don't have to sit down and intend. You're the embodiment of the intention you came here to be. You emanate it out, and everything comes. I know this sounds like, it may sound out there, okay? But I'm going to tell you that you know this is true because you've experienced it. You have experienced this. You've had moments where what I'm talking about, you've had glimmers of it, glimpses of it. You've seen it happen in your life. You have. You wouldn't be listening right now if that wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
You've had this. But the problem is the ego says that's not possible in an ongoing way. Or you can't have that always. Or, that's not realistic in a world like this. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, because it's a dog-eat-dog world.
And that is total BS.
Right.
Because the only way this world is going to change is if we have an army of embodied people, really. It's not really an army. It's really the way we're supposed to be. So really, it's a bunch of people who are in their natural state, really. And as we all come into that, just imagine if there was half the population that didn't react to anything and could actually really hear with a great deal of compassion what was actually going on with another human being.
Yeah, we'd have no war.
What would happen to, yeah, exactly. What would happen to the other half of the population, right? The other half would just melt. They would not be able to hold on to their ego mind. They wouldn't.
It's like the Wicked Witch of the West.
Exactly. So.
And didn't they sort of send love to her? And she said, "Help me, I'm melting." What?
Well, here's the thing. They came from their. Sending love is still more effortful than what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because you're doing something.
Right. I'm not talking about doing anything. I'm talking about becoming yourself.
Yeah, you're talking about our stepping into our true state of being.
So all of those things that we've had, so now here's the kicker. Here's the thing that really will have you see what I'm talking about. So remember how I talked about the tools like 10 minutes ago? I talked about all the tools that we do to walk away, come from love, send them love, talk to their higher self, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. All of those things are tools. What if you fully integrated with them so that it just was you? You didn't have to slow down to contemplate and send anything or intend anything or whatever. What if the next stage in that evolution is simply to become it? Because that's where I live. I literally, Dave, am working with leaders all over the world who are just wanting to fully integrate with it.
How does it play out in, say, it's going to be my last question, and we'll throw the line open. How does it play out in a business context, like in our work, in drawing in, our work and abundance and money and success? How does that play out?
So can I give you a very real life and very vulnerable example in my life?
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
Breathe.
So,
Do you want to step away for 5 minutes? No, you did that already.
Exactly. It's like, crap, here we go.
Yeah.
We're doing it. My company is called The Wide Awakening. We call it TWA.
Right.
And so at TWA, just over time, for the first few years when it started about 8, I've been in business for 20 years. I was a holistic nutritionist, and then I started being able to see people, and then I could see dead people, and then I was like, what the hell?
Oh, great.
I'm an accountant. Hello. And then I started really being able to help people, and I didn't know what was happening to me because I was seeing a whole bunch of stuff. Like literally a hologram of who they were, and I didn't understand what it was, and I'm a very linear, logical person, so this was extremely odd for me, okay? Very, very, very odd. So as a result, I became, as I started to understand it, and I started getting downloads about what all these codes are, I started to understand it. And, remember, consciousness is constantly changing. It's kind of like before we would use tools because that's all we knew, but all of a sudden, these new awarenesses that there's actually codes that hold the innate abilities of human beings, that information starts becoming so available that there's actually 3 studies going on in Russia right now about the other strands of DNA. I mean, go figure, right? And so flow for me. And then all of a sudden, about just a few months ago in my business, I noticed that, I started to, everything started going really fast, even faster. We've since 5 years, we've completely doubled. Like, we're a 7-figure business now. So it's we've doubled since 5 years.
Wow.
And remember that I not only am this, person that sees dead people and stuff, but I'm also a person in a body on a planet that has 12 employees and runs a big business. Well, big to me. It's not a big business in the world, but it's big to me. So now, if you can imagine from there, we're used to this flow, and all of a sudden I have this team, and I don't have a paradigm around a team that big. And I have to do personnel development, and I have to do, we haven't done that before. We didn't do reviews. Everyone's very tight and close and yummy and all that kind of stuff. But now it's looking like, roles and responsibilities, and oh my God, we need checklists and processes and policies and procedures and all sorts of stuff, because we do. We really do. That's a lot of balls in the air. And the other thing was, because I wasn't doing that stuff, what was happening is that things were, now, in the hologram, what I'm seeing is people not understanding how to be a leader and to lead their position and to create it as we go. Instead, they're waiting for instructions, right, because they don't know. And then what I'm looking at is people also the cash flow slowing down pretty drastically. And I'm thinking, okay, all of a sudden there's like something crazy that's got to happen, because like I've never in my life not paid my flow. So to give you how much flow we're always in, I've been in this business, this particular business, for 8 years. I have never not paid my entire visa bill, and our visa bills are $30,000 a month, right? So I've never not made payroll. I mean, that would be ridiculous to me. That's insane. I can't imagine that. That has never happened to me. And all of a sudden I'm confronted with, oh my God, that's actually a distinct possibility. Now, here's where it comes in, Dave, okay? So you can imagine me, used to this expansive flow, 7-figure business. I'm like, can I swear?
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit. What the hell?
That's mild.
Yeah.
Come join my company.
Yeah. And so I have to put the brakes on. Now, most people would freak out. Most people would react. I love my staff, so I'm like, there's this little instant of, holy crap, I got to, I'm carrying them. I'm worried about them. I'm like, what about this person? Because they've got kids, and and I'm going down that grease line, slippery slope to hell. And I'm laughing because I know. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, hey, wait a second. I know who I am. Hello. And all of a sudden, I simply go, yes, I know right now I'm having awakening schizophrenia, because when you tap into the ego mind, that's the collective culture and the way that the regular populace would think if that would happen without any And all of a sudden I just went, I distinguished it as separate instantly, because I just brought myself to 30,000 feet, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then I knew I needed to call this one person. I called that one person. She put a bunch of it into perspective. Oh, yeah, and this person and that person, and you need to talk, and this is what you need to do. Instantaneously, I got like 3 answers. And then all of a sudden, I talked to the second person that, it's like my hand went to the phone dialing their numbers before I even knew what I was doing. That's what happens when you're dancing with all of life directly. It's almost like you're doing it before you even know what you're doing. And then what happened was I was shown, I literally got this wave of, Jennifer, you are not doing anyone any favors by not holding them to the standard at which they came to actually live at by being a TWA. And even today, 2 very powerful conversations happened between my general manager and 2 employees that actually switched things. And by the end of the day, I believe I had 3 different emails coming from completely different reasons, and we had, I don't know, about $22,000 worth of deposits.
Amazing.
So in a very real sense, what happens is you're able to distinguish that awakening schizophrenia and absolutely, completely end the freaking out that keeps you from the innate wisdom that will actually and I do mean instantly. It is instant. The shift is instant. It's not like, it doesn't take days to kick in. It's then and there. And it makes me laugh, David. It's hilarious. Now, do I get lots of practice? Yes. Is it realistic? I do not want to blow smoke up anyone's skirt here, because it's shit comes up. You start to notice how you've been in a way that there ain't no landmark forum that's going to, I'm talking about thousands of ways that you've been coming up in the span of a week, and you are forced to actually, you have to, I don't want to use the word let go, you have to start laughing or you'll start crying. And that relaxation into who you really are, all of a sudden you see that whole other world starts opening up, because you can't possibly cope with the amount of transcendence that happens in a very short amount of time. Now, is it always pretty? No. Would you ever turn back? Not in a bajillion years. Do you always know that that's the direction that all of humanity is heading? Yes, you absolutely know it the whole time you're sort of integrating with yourself. How long does it take? It takes as long as it takes. Some people, which annoys the living hell out of me, some people took innate abilities, and Dave, honest to God, it took them, like, they took, one class, and they're like, where have you been all my life? And I swear to God, they're probably more natural at this than I ever was. So I think partially I've had to struggle with it so I could teach it, but some people just get it instantaneously, and they're even though it's not perfect, they're off. It's like they don't need me.
Right.
At all.
I want to be mindful of the time, because we have gone over and we started late. And I appreciate everybody that stayed with us. Now is a good time to sort of open it up to a couple of questions, and then we'll wrap. Okay, Jen?
Yeah, no problem.
So if you want to unmute yourself, a quick question. Who goes first? They're not jumping. Well, let's just thank you.
Okay, can I ask a question, Dave?
Yeah.
I'd like to ask a question.
Who is
hi,
that?
Jennifer. It's Gail Scott here.
Oh, Gail.
Gail Scott. Mm-hmm.
Hi, Gail.
Hi, Jennifer. I totally love you. I just think you're fabulous, and this was fantastic. And
Thanks,
and I
Gail.
have to say, just fabulous. I'm really in the place where right now I'm going, oh my God, is this really who I am? And yeah, this is pretty woo-woo, but I'm in it anyway, and I'm doing it, and I'm living it. It's fabulous. But I really want to go back to just the last couple things that you were saying about this awakening schizophrenia,
Yeah.
where I find myself kind of like a pendulum, and this has been a lot of my awakening, going back and forth all the time. 1 minute I'm really in the zone of being in my innate abilities and using them and seeing them and just being love. And then the next thing, I go back to the ego and oh my God and la 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 la. Is there any kind of I don't know, whatever you would suggest that I can do? I know you said relax into who you really are. I find if I go out into nature, it really helps me.
Well, Gail,
to get.
that's a brilliant suggestion. And do you know why? That
But I just feel like I'm one with the trees when I do that.
Well, if you think about it, just put yourself in everyone just put yourself in the experience. When you're out in nature, you guys, isn't nature the most fluid, completely, like there's no judgment. There's no resistance. It is what it is. It's actually living in its completely natural flow. Now, I'm talking about nature as if it's an it outside of you. But actually, Gail, what's happening is you're going into nature, and most human beings are so arrogant that they presume that they are separate from nature. We talk about nature as if it's a thing that's outside of us. But in fact, the reason why you feel yourself when you're in nature is because you're a part of nature. You are of nature in the most real possible way. You're breathing out what you're breathing in what the trees are. You're breathing in what you're breathing out. Eat of the soil from the earth, because everything you eat that came from the soil and the sun, and you are nature. When you overthink and be in your left brain and don't be in your instincts, in those multidimensional instincts, when you do that, you take yourself out of that connection. So do you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's why nature does it to you. So that's one thing that you can do, absolutely. One of the things that I do, very simple, and everyone can do this. Again, this isn't going to have you embody your innate abilities on the fast track, but it's definitely going to assist in a big, big way. And that is, every night before you go to bed, you literally look at the list of everything. First of all, I highly recommend putting a pad of paper and a pen beside your bed, so that if anything comes up that you feel you have to do, as long as you can get it on paper, it doesn't need to be in your head. So you want to make an eraser to the brain, whatever it takes. For me, what it takes, because, I just see life this way, and believe me, I didn't before, is just I actually give it to the frequencies, or let's say infinite wisdom, because it understands what's going on with those things that are on my mind far better than I do. So I literally just give it over. I declare the day complete. And when you declare the day complete and give all that stuff away, because now it's sleep time. It's not think time. Think time was during the day. Do time was during the day. This is sleep time. Sleep time doesn't equal think and do time. So you give it to someone else that can do, whilst you give your body a rest from the motion of the day. You with me?
Perfect. Totally.
And then when you wake up in the morning, this is what you tell infinite wisdom. You say, come with me. I will pay attention, and you come with me. I will pay attention, and you come with me. That's what I say every morning.
Right.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gail.
Great
Yeah.
question.
Okay, time for one more question, real quick, though.
Jennifer,
Yes.
it's Susanna.
Hey.
I'm going back to a course that you did for me, and I'm going to relate this back to my son and say, he is not my child. He is a child of the universe.
Yes.
And although I have some responsibility, I should not try to control.
Yes. And he has his connection to infinite wisdom, same as you. He has the same connection. And as long as we want to save people, the problem is when we want to save people, we actually step in, and what we're saying is, you don't have the capacity to read your own instincts. I'm going to take my spirit, pour it through your body, and see if I can read your instincts. And of course, that's not what you were designed for. The best thing we can do as parents is actually get back in our, it's the craziest thing, because it's so outside of the identity of being a mom or a dad. But the best thing you can do is be a raving, ridiculous example of being in your flow, so that when they're ready, they have someone that doesn't judge them, someone that respects that they're on their own path, someone that will talk to them straight, but you're no longer manipulating them so that you can feel comfortable, because you get very uncomfortable watching him, I suspect.
I get very uncomfortable with things that happen that he does.
For sure. And so...
Like the most recent is breaking my tablet accidentally. Everything is accidentally.
Sure. And so, my love, this is all about understanding. It's all about also coming from 30,000 feet so that you can see what why he's actually doing what he's doing and what he's actually doing, and respond with wisdom rather than with, I can feel about 5 different identities running, none of which are going to be effective.
And I guess we're all prone to multitasking. We have to really be focused on one thing. Whatever that we are facing at this moment, whoever we're conversing with, whatever we're doing, we need to be in that moment.
And dude, you're a piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth. Remember that. You have a reason that you're here. And you emanating that does more for him, even if you're not talking to him, even if he's halfway across the country. You doing that does more for him. It's like you're changing the world around him. That is exponentially more effective, at least half the time, than the direct conversation with him. The second thing I'm going to say to you that is very powerful, again, it lies in the third strand of DNA, as a matter of fact, and that is the capacity to connect with someone's essence through your pineal gland and actually have a conversation that's heard through the pineal gland rather than the conversation that's not heard through the ears and the mouth.
And the middle fingers.
Yeah, that middle finger, not so much either.
Yeah.
And so you have the capacity, and by the way, it doesn't take a special guru to do that. Susanna, you could do it right now. You actually can put any finger, even your middle one, over your pineal gland, and you're
Where?
Close your eyes.
Your forehead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right above your eyebrows.
And then you close your eyes, and you just bring up his same multidimensional self. And you have a very slow, loving, rational conversation with him from there. Not in order that you're going to have a 3D conversation. Have that be enough. And you can do it every night if you want. And know that he is feeling and hearing you. But you have to do it from a place that he's not broken and he doesn't need fixing. And you're not worried about him and you're not carrying him. It has to be completely neutral from a place of compassion and love. And he'll feel it. And he's still going to go on his journey no matter what you do. And trust me, he's teaching you stuff. He's giving you...
Oh, trust me, I know.
Yep, he's giving you a huge opportunity. So, thanks for the question, because I'm sure you're not alone.
Right.
What's that?
I'm sure you're not alone.
Oh, I know I'm not alone.
Yeah.
All right.
I know.
We got to wrap up our call. We've gone quite over. And Jen, I can't thank you enough for your generosity. I have on the screen here all of the programs you have. You've got Get Out of Your Own Way,
That's a great course.
Quantum Wake-Up Calls, Your Innate Abilities Skill Training, which you talked about tonight, Flight School, and Wide Awakening Adventures. So is there something you want to sort of just add? It's shameless self-promotion time.
Oh, well, I would really, instead of just being, you know what, if anything, we're going on an experience this Thursday at Toronto Botanical Gardens.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and come, everybody come. It's like $30. And we have a, it's usually a very, very powerful conversation. And I'm a wide open channel, so there's like very powerful Q&A, and people get readings, and we actually talk about this world and what's going on with the world, but we also do a bunch of activations around innate abilities. So just come, for $30. It's a very, some people, the only way they work with me is they come to our evening events.
And where do they get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with us. Well, you can go to thewideawakening.com, thewideawakening.com, or you can email me directly if you're interested in anything at vitalU, VITALYOU, @gmail.com. And the last thing is, Dave, Innate Abilities starts this Saturday.
Wow.
So if anyone is interested, you can go to thewideawakening.com. I think it's even on the front page. You could click on it and come and play.
Jennifer, I can't thank you enough.
Dave, I can't thank you enough, and thank you so much, Sweetie Pie, for being patient with my technological dopiness.
Well, for those on the call, So I've got my portable phone in my hand, and I have you on speaker, and I've been holding the phone up to the mic this whole time. My arm's getting sore.
God bless you. We'll point it at Dave.
But it worked. But, here's the thing. Like, I could have given up and said, okay, the call's over, forget about it. But we found a way to make it work, and I think it worked. And I can't thank people enough on the call. If you need my services, I'm the Boomer Business Coach, and talk about our SWIFT method and sales training and all that stuff. We do a monthly call, and our next one will be November 25th, and we're going back to our monthly calls rather than the 6-week series, which nearly killed me. So it's called Lives Well Lived, and I don't know who the guest is, but we'll have somebody inspirational, which we do every month. It's just a complimentary call, just to shift the energy and help people along these very interesting times we live in, Jennifer.
And may I say, Dave, you are the king of giving back, truly.
I agree.
Thanks.
Yeah, like really. I have, no matter what part of my life we have been in when you and I have hooked up and said hello, that is the consistent way of being that you have, is an incredibly generous heart. So, it's, such an amazing thing to know you as my life has just been expanding and being crazy. It's just, every time I think of you, I just feel love.
Aw, thanks, Jen. Believe me, it's mutual.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, have a beautiful night, everybody. I'm going to go, and it's my birthday tomorrow, Jen, so another year older.
Happy birthday, Dave.
Yeah.
And David,
Yes.
I'm going to say, even though you lost that one relationship, you'll make 10 better ones.
Aw, thanks. Oh, wow, 10. Listen to that. I won't. If I had 10, I don't think I'd live to see my next birthday.
Of course you would.
And you're big, buddy.
What's that, Jen?
You're living large.
Yeah, I guess that's really, in my innate abilities.
Happy birthday, Dave.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Jennifer. That was fantastic.
Yeah, beautiful. Have a beautiful night and a great week, everybody, and happy November. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, I love you
Bye.
lots. Love everybody too
Bye.
on the call. You've been
Bye.
all great. Cheers.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.